So we're going to cover a couple of G-code myths real quickly before we go into the details of the G-code. Number one is that G-code is archaic and it's obsolete. This is kind of a dangerous myth because if you buy a system that uses a proprietary software, then you could get in trouble in that you can't use CAD/CAM programs that will automatically generate G-code for you. G-code is the most widely used CNC programming language in the world, and there's a plethora of CAM programs and software that will generate the G-code for you. So kind of stay away from proprietary systems so that you have all of the options available to you. The next myth is that it's really, really hard to learn, that you need to go back to college and take a class in G-code. In fact, it's a very, very simple program to learn. You can teach yourself. My wife Cindy teaches a lot of classes, and she learned G-code on her own simply by looking at samples of code and looking at the G-code definitions. Let me show you this real quickly. There is a file, and you'll find this on your C drive in your Mach 3 folder. You can see the address right here. It's mach3milk gcodes.html, but it has a list of all the G-codes. So if you're looking at a program and you see a G0, you can open this up, click on there, and it'll explain what G0 means. Okay, let's go on to the next one. And that's that you have to learn G-code in order to operate a CNC machine. If you haven't purchased your machine yet, you're just interested, this isn't true at all. My father is 80 years old, just bought his first CNC, and doesn't know a thing about G-code, but he's able to program spindles that are turned, and carvings, and cut out signs, and all kinds of things, because there's so many programs that will automatically generate the G-code for you. So it's not necessary that you learn it, but that brings up the question then, why would you want to learn G-code if you can simply generate it from these other programs? Well, there's a couple of reasons. The first one being is that it's faster to edit a line of code in G-code than it is to recreate an entire program using the CAM software. I'll just give you an example of that. If we go into Mach 3, here's a program loaded here on the left side. If I want to simply change how fast the spindle is spinning, I can go here to this line, and this 19,000 is the spindle speed, and I can simply change it to 21,000 or whatever I want. When I close this code, it saves it, puts it right back into here, and now it's going to turn that spindle at 21,000. The alternative to that is I go back into my original program. This was created in conversational CAM, for example. I have to open up that part that created that code. Then I've got to go to that process and edit the process. In the toolbox organizer, here's the spindle RPM for this particular one. So I would now change this to 21,000. Save this, overwrite the existing, finish this code out. Then I've got to go back in and regenerate my G-code. So now this S21 is changed the speed. Then I've got to go save the G-code here. So you can see it's quite a bit faster to simply edit the code right here. In many cases, it's easier to just write a simple program than it is to go into a software package and try to draw it and then assign a tool path and create all the values. If it's a real simple program, you'll find that you can write it much easier. The other thing is that it allows you to combine programs. This is one of our machines, and it's got a part mounted here between centers. Now this particular spindle actually uses a couple of different programs. I'll show you another example right here. Here's a spindle and here's a spindle that use several different programs. This middle spindle, for example, used Aspire to create this wrapped carving. It used Conversational CAM 4 to do the turnings and the toolpaths for here, and then I also wrote a little G-code to cut the dovetail slots on the end. So I was able to combine all of the programs created by the various software packages into one code and let it run. The other thing that it does for you is it lets you take, for example, this corbel right here. This design was programmed in vCarve Pro, and then we created a mirror image of that program, but instead of mounting the stock twice, we mounted it between centers, kind of like what you're seeing here on the machine. We milled one program, and then we wrote some G-code in the program to rotate it 180 degrees and ran the other program to create the corbel carved on both sides, or this little rosette here carved on two sides at 90 degrees. And as you can see, it really expands your capabilities if you can go in and adjust the G-code. So it's not absolutely mandatory, but it sure makes it a lot easier to do some things with your machine.